All right, Dr. Morris Waxler is here. What a career. Sounding the alarm, by the way, on LASIK eye surgery. I have been reading about this man. I mean, he's been everywhere. Daily Mail, MSN. Now he's got a whole bunch of opponents, too. I think there's a whole website published. I'll bring it up. I'll bring it up for you, Dr. Waxler. We got to have haters. We got to have haters.
Wow.
You know?
I wasn't even aware of that. Oh,
I'll tell you all about them. Look, thank you for being here. But you know, we kind of make light. But I read about you basically sounding the alarm on the dangers of LASIK eye surgery. I've been down the rabbit hole over the past couple of weeks, and it sounds like a lot of people are coming out of the woodwork, basically saying that LASIK eye surgery destroyed their lives. One of the big stories that's been out there is a Pennsylvania police officer, young man, had LASIK eye surgery. I know, say a prayer. I know. And committed suicide shortly after because the pain, the vision was so impaired. He was seeing halos and it wasn't improving. Very young man, had a great career ahead of him. He was a twin. Um, so I wanted to have you on. And can you begin by telling my listeners a little bit about your career, how you became a doctor? You ended up at the FDA. And in 1999, you were part of the team that approved LASIK eye surgery. And you're kind of out here telling people, like, I really regret it.
okay. So let me give you a brief capsule of my life. Um, I'm essentially a neuroscientist. I got a degree in vision science and brain science. Um, and I started working at a low level in a brain laboratory at the National Institute of Health, Mental Health. And then I eventually got my PhD in neuroscience and psychology. Um, my first job after getting my PhD was at the Armed Forces Radiobiologic Institute, and um, and then I moved to the Food and Drug Administration, where I was essentially working in a laboratory trying to understand the effects of microwaves and ultraviolet radiation and blue light on the cornea, the uh, lens, and the retina. So eventually, I was in head of trying to get consensus amongst cataract specialists about the role of ultraviolet radiation in causing cataracts. So that was a big deal. I became fairly effective in getting resolution to a lot of technical issues having to do with lasers of all sorts. And the the consequence was when LASIK was first discovered or first invented, I became aware of it at an optical society meeting, uh, and was quite amazed about it because this is a very unusual application. Um, and then I went on to do other things, and eventually uh, there were big transformations happening at the Food and Drug Administration. So because I was solving a lot of both bureaucratic and other scientific issues, they asked me to solve this problem, and that started in maybe 2000. I'm sorry, 1991 or 1992. Um, and so what I discovered very quickly was that the that corneal specialists were had a long history of doing what was called radial keratotomy, where they put radial cuts in the cornea to flatten the cornea. This was started by Fyodorov in Russia and the Soviet Union. It
Okay.
was an absolute disaster. It caused tremendous problems. So then these very clever, very high-tech folks said, well, we can do it better. So then they started making the cuts with diamond knives. And then they started doing other things. And then this big, wonderful laser came along that said, well, we can etch the cornea. Wow, that's cool. And it is cool. However, um, these eyes are not a piece of marble, and so it doesn't matter how you cut it. When you cut it, you cause lots of problems. lots of problems. So uh, corneal surgeons were already doing LASIK when I in the late in 88, 89, they were already doing it illegally. So one of my first jobs at FDA with regard to LASIK was to find out who was doing the surgery illegally and get them under control. Uh, and I eventually solved that problem. And as a reward for solving that problem, they said, well, okay, solve some more problems. And so I became chair or not chair, chief of the group that was regulating refractive surgery lasers in 90, must have been 94 or 95, probably in 95. At the same time that PRK that preceded LASIK was a flapless LASIK where they stripped off the epithelium. They didn't do a cut through the cornea. They stripped the epithelium off and then made a divot in the underlying tissue. So then I became chief of this group. Now I had to get more regulatory control over the group because they'd already in 95 FDA approved the flapless LASIK, PRK, photorefractive keratectomy. And but at that same time, I learned that they were already performing LASIK, that is with the keratome.
Okay,
Uh,
wait, can we
so
go
my
back?
job was to get, sorry,
Okay, can we go back 2 seconds? Like, what if, first of all, what a fascinating career. You might be the smartest person I've ever had on this podcast. I mean, like I'm in awe. I mean, this is like I wouldn't even know where to start as a neuroscientist. Like,
I,
I could barely find the brain. Anyhow, you're a genius. This is like Like, what a hot career. Okay. So you spend your career also studying what ultraviolet rays, like from a microwave and radiation, do to the eyes. What
yeah.
does a microwave impact our eyes? What did you discover?
Well, it turned out that didn't become much of an issue because they solved the issue with microwaves by various interlocks on the microwave devices. So that turned out to be not an issue. Uh, but but lasers became a big issue because lasers were started to use for a lot of different reasons in the eye, um, and some of them are really wonderful uses, and some of them, like LASIK, are terrible uses. But most of them are actually really quite wonderful. Actually, I've had laser surgery, and so I mean, now it's wonderful, but it depends on what you're doing with the laser.
Okay. Tell us what are good laser eye surgeries and why LASIK is not good.
Well, okay, so let's back up a little bit then. So first of all, you have to understand a bit about the eye.
Okay.
The eye is like a ball. It's a soft ball. It's inside your eye socket. Your eye socket is solid. On top of it's not really like this shape,
Yep.
but it has a cornea on top of it, which is transparent. What they do in LASIK is they squash your eye for a short period of time.
Okay.
The pressure in the eye is usually about 5 millimeters of mercury. They move it up to like 60 or 70 millimeters of mercury,
Okay.
which essentially shuts off the artery, closes the um, um, supply of oxygen and blood supply to the eye, causes all sorts of problems for a short period of time. Then they make a slice through the cornea. Now, so what are they slicing? What? It's not like you know the eye is a beautiful place. If you know, I mean, it's really people that don't know the anatomy and the beauty of the eye took millions of years to develop these organs. I mean, it's a beautiful place. But the beauty is that how does it keep transparent? How does it keep its shape? How does it maintain that pressure at 5 millimeters of mercury?
Uh, Great
So
question.
there are a lot of particular details which we're not going to go into, which I no longer can probably do anymore. But the point is that when they the cornea, the surface of the cornea
Mhm.
has the highest number of nerves on any organ of the body. If you've ever had a speck of dirt in your eye or any kind of injury to your cornea, you know how painful it is.
Brutal.
So when they're cutting the cornea, they're cutting all of these nerves. They're cutting all of these nerves. Those nerves have to regrow. Now, they also, after they've cut the nerves and they've taken a flap, they make a divot in the underlying tissue. Well, what are they taking a divot of? They're taking out all of the supporting cells that help the neurons grow properly. So guess what? Those neurons don't go back properly. Some of them don't go back at all. Some of them go back in very strange worlds, and they're agitated. They get upset because they've been hurt, and they don't ever grow back. So they're constantly telling the rest of the brain, "I'm hurt. I'm hurt. I'm hurt." Now, in some people, for reasons that cannot be really understood, because there are a lot of individual differences in all of those particularities of how the nerves come into the cornea, how they display, how they regrow, the particularities of the biochemistry in an individual. So those nerves may not grow back properly. They take years to grow back, even properly.
Yeah.
I have friends who had LASIK, and they've had no, as far as I can tell, they've had no issues 10, for 10, 15, 20 years. But 60 or more percent do have a lot of issues. 10% to 30% have terrible issues. Ryan was one of those individuals.
Ryan is
Uh,
the police officer, by the way, that
Ryan's the
recently
police officer.
took his life
He
in
had
Minneapolis.
terrible outcomes. No one can know exactly why he, in particular, had the bad outcomes, but he is not alone. My friend that I tried to keep from committing suicide, Diane, she finally committed suicide because for her, for whatever reason, those nerves never grew back properly. She was in constant pain. It ruined her life. It ruined her relationship with her mother, her her children. They couldn't stand her because she was always in pain, never able to sleep properly. Um, and it goes on and on. I know of at least 40 cases of people who've committed suicide. And this is the tip of the iceberg. Many people suffer through it by putting eye drops on forever. Now, don't get me wrong. I know I have friends of mine who've had LASIK and have had, as far as I can tell, had no complications, but they had healthy eyes. I have had healthy eyes most of my life, but I'm 88 now. I have
Are you
I have
88?
Yes, I know I have a good makeup artist. No, I'm
My God, honey, you look so good. Oh my God, we got to do a whole podcast on what your secret is. What is your secret? You look
may
fabulous.
I introduce my wife? She's here someplace.
Does she take good
So
care of you? You
so
look
here's
great.
the thing. I have um uh, I've had really a lifetime of pretty good vision. I've had glasses since I was maybe 10 years old. No problem. That's what you need. You need a pair of glasses. You need glasses. Or if you want to, contact lenses. You don't need to cut your cornea. It's healthy. It's really healthy. It's beautiful. It's healthy. Leave it alone, or you're just looking for trouble. Um, so many things can go wrong. So many things. Um, and we were focusing on the pain and the dry eyes and all that kind of suffering, but the distortions that occur. Everybody that has LASIK has some distortions. You cannot flatten the cornea and create all kinds of edges and new kinds of little teeny wrinkles that create all kinds of scatter. You cannot You cannot do that to a cornea and have the person see well, especially at night when the cornea, when the pupil gets large, you get another edge. It gets a lot of scattered light. So people that have LASIK have night driving problems, serious night driving problems. There are halos around everything. Some people have more of a problem than other people for different reasons.
Sure.
There's more wrinkling, more little wrinkling. They have a bigger pupil at night than other people have. There are all kinds of reasons why they may suffer more. Um, and in addition, they're making the cornea thin. The, so we talked about the cornea is, as I said, is a ball, essentially a ball with a lens on the cornea on the top, a lens in between, but it's a ball. But it's a very thin structure. It's a very thin, very thin structure.
Okay. You are out here sounding the alarm, basically telling people do not have this surgery. Now,
Correct.
your old friends at the FDA say that this is safe, right? So all these stories now that have featured you, I mean, we got to talk about your haters, Dr. Waxler. There's the FDA says there's been 500 complaints since 2015 sent to the FDA regarding corrective eye procedures. They include patients reporting halos, glares, shadows, severe dry eyes, and immense pain. However, the FDA says that most patients are very pleased with the results of their LASIK eye surgery. Many eye studies have been done, and this is according to the FDA. They say 95% of patients are happy. Do you think this is true? And why do you think? I mean, you're not the only one. All these families now are speaking up on Reddit feeds, on Facebook, saying we've had family members take their own lives because after LASIK, the pain was so bad. FDA so far says, oh, no, no, no. 95% of people are very thrilled. What's the real deal here?
Well, first of all, the 95%, can I speak bluntly?
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay. The 95% number is crap. And the reason it's crap is that the 95%, the 5% number is a well, how do they get to that number? They get to that number by asking people at 3 months after surgery, are you happy? Well, yes. They've just plunked down $2,000 for each eye. And for that, at that short period of time, the cornea is, for most people, is fine. So that number is bogus. That number does not represent the range of problems. So you have to look at studies that actually have studied pain after, and the studies that show of the pain issue that the pain issues are anywhere from 10 to 15, 20%. This is at 3 years, at 4 years, at 5 years, at 10 years. So you have to look at FDA. My dear friends at the agency know this. They know this not because I told them. They know the data, but unfortunately, they've been complicit with the industry. And I hate to say this because I had wonderful relations, wonderful friends of mine, some of them. Um, but they have been complicit. And I understand the predicament they got into because saw that close up. I mean, power has its privileges, and the LASIK surgeons are very powerful. So that's a very strong group of people. They've worked hand in glove with the LASIK surgeons that I knew, the LASIK surgeons that I got under control, but they didn't take, when I got them under control, the agency did not keep them under control. They basically said, that's fine. We won't tell customers. You don't have to tell customers that they're going to have eye problems, the problems that we've just discussed. So I'm really annoyed with them, but my annoyance is irrelevant. Um, the problem is real people are suffering. Many people don't report their suffering. The LASIK surgeons, the clinics, and the manufacturers and the FDA hide the data. I have been telling the agency the data. They know the data. They don't report the data on their website. Uh,
Well, I
uh,
mean, look, I'm going to say I think 500 complaints since 2015. Now, I'm sure it's actually probably more than that because,
Oh, it's much more than that.
right, it takes a lot to actually go and complain. But I was like shocked. They don't think they're like, oh, 500 complaints. I mean, this isn't quoting them, but basically they're like, it's such a small number. Really everybody's fine. Is like shocking to me. I mean, people are basically saying like they're living in perpetual pain. I mean, isn't that a massive red flag? This is crazy.
It is crazy, but but it makes a lot of money. It makes a lot of money for the manufacturers. It makes a lot of money for the corneal surgeons. It is I don't know what to say. I think the thing is for people people like Ryan and people like Donna and Diana and on and on, and people like some that you know in your own group who've had LASIK. They need to tell their friends and their family and their children, don't do it. They may have had a good outcome, like my friends, some of my friends have had, but don't tell your friends and your family, don't do it. They may likely not get a good outcome. And they have to have these things for their entire life. Some
You
of the
mentioned
problems don't occur till much later.
okay, that's what I was going to ask you. You had mentioned that like 3 months after surgery, yeah, everything's great, and maybe the FDA is kind of they're manipulating this response because, to your point, they're asking people really shortly after, like, hey, how's it go? How are you?
Right.
Oh, great. If you do LASIK, when do most people start experiencing irreversible issues?
It's variable, but some like Ryan and others immediately have problems, and they're quite apparent, and they go through great suffering. Some individuals, for reasons that are not discernible because no one studies it, may not be possible to study in any real sense. But some problems, for example, take a long time to develop. For example, when they take out a big chunk of the central cornea, they're thinning the cornea. So the eye is under constant pressure for a lifetime. So it's slowly starting to bulge. And in some people, if that back layer of the eyeball, if it's too thin, the back layer of the retina is too thin, the whole eye starts to bulge, and then the really big distorted vision starts to occur. This is called ectasia. It's like a hernia. It's like a hernia, but it's a hernia in your eyeball. Now imagine a hernia in your eyeball. It's
No,
not a good thing.
no.
But this takes maybe 10 years, 20 years to develop. Uh, it can happen earlier than that, depends on how much thinning occurred, and it depends on that particular eyeball. And they can measure the thickness of the what's called the endothelium, as opposed to the epithelium. They can measure the thickness of it, but they can't really know the exact strength of it in particular individuals. They've thinned it. It was a healthy cornea with a particular thickness. They've made it thinner. They've destroyed the integrity of the eye.
Mm.
So you can't do that to a healthy eye and say it's still healthy. It can't be healthy.
I I've read that you said one of your biggest career regrets was approving LASIK eye surgery in 1999. And you said, look, it was already happening illegally, so there was a bit of a rush by the FDA to get this approved and get it regulated and regulate the people doing it. It seems like now you're on a mission to sound the alarm. Is that what your goal is, by doing these articles, coming on my podcast? What do you hope to accomplish now that you've realized that was a regret?
Well, first of all, let me a little bit of a correction.
Please.
I didn't personally approve LASIK. It's a process by the FDA. My job as the chief of that particular group was to make recommendations. There was no chance in God's green earth I could make a recommendation not to approve LASIK. They were already doing it.
Yeah.
They, by the time FDA, by the time I became chief of that group, well, it had been already approved. LASIK had, without a flap, PRK had been approved already. The horse was out of the barn. My job was to get them regulated as much as I could in hopes that the that it wouldn't take off as a big problem, because I assumed naively that, of course, FDA and the good surgeons and all of these people would, of course, tell their customers, "Oh, by the way, we're going to ruin your healthy eye, but that's okay. It's going to be okay for a while." So I assumed that they would provide the information in the informed consent document. They do not provide informed consent. They don't provide, if anything, they lie. I don't mean to say it, because saying someone lies gets you in trouble sometimes. But they literally do not tell the truth. They don't say anything about the percentages.
How are they not getting the pantsuit off of them?
But
How are they
they
not?
do get sued occasionally. I have helped. I've been I've achieved minor achievements of defend of getting some big wins for some patients who LASIK patients. But as a consequence of getting the big wins, they shut you up. A young man that I had just maybe 2 years ago now, he got a reward, but he won't speak up because he's got a confidentiality agreement. I
Right.
can't speak up about them. I know the SOBs who did it to him, and they're still operating. One of them is operating with an illegal laser. I can't say that he's operating with an illegal laser. FDA should know that, but I can't tell them that because I would be in trouble. And I don't earn anything from this. It's just I
Yeah. That's why I wanted to talk to
this
you.
is something I do because I have to do it. I
Yeah.
don't get anything from it. And anything, it costs me money and time and aggravation.
It's worth it. Have you spoken to the new head of the FDA? Dr. Macari is his name, appointed by RFK. I mean, people obviously have a lot of political thoughts. It does seem, though, like RFK wants to hear people's, I guess, complaints, whether they're legit, not legit. I'll let my audience decide that. But I mean, have you spoken to Dr. Macari? He seems like maybe he would take this on. He's the new head of the FDA.
They won't speak to me. Why would they speak to me? I mean, they know my number. I mean,
Oh, well, I thought RFK, I thought he was on a mission here to overhaul, I thought it was Maha. We were making America healthy again. I mean, this seems
well,
like,
yeah, good luck on that. Anyhow, I mean, you can send them my telephone number. You send them my telephone number, my email address. I mean, I'm available for a conversation. If someone wants, if a LASIK surgeon wants to debate me on your show, I'll be delighted to do so.
we're definitely doing that. We're
I know
definitely
where
doing
the
that.
dead bodies are.
Oh, I'm going to reach out to Dr. Stephen Slade of Slade and Baker Vision in Houston, Texas. He responds, he's in a lot of the same articles as you. He says it's less than 1% of people have issues with LASIK.
Nonsense. It's nonsense. He knows that's not 1%. There's no way. I mean, I don't know if you can read this book. We just published this book.
Yes.
Is it?
Yep.
And
The
it's
unsightly truth of laser vision correction. LASIK surgery makes healthy eyes sick by Dr. Morris Waxler. People should pick it
and
up.
my co-authors are there. And the thing is, I don't earn any money from this at all. None of us earn any money. It's available on Amazon for 0 cents as an ebook. Zero. I'm sorry. Maybe it's $1. I've forgotten, but it's available for free. And the money goes to help LASIK patients because there are thousands and thousands of them. You cannot get LASIK without being a patient. You're a customer and then you're a patient
Oof.
because you had healthy eyes.
Okay. The people, much like you, on these, I've been down the rabbit hole on Reddit, on Facebook. There are awareness groups for LASIK eye surgery. And these aren't your words. These are people on these sites. They believe that LASIK eye surgery is the same type of cover up as Oxycontin. And a lot of the victims of LASIK eye surgery say reporters, podcasters like myself should start focusing, in addition to the adverse outcomes, the systemic cover up of LASIK. It is similar to the Oxycontin cover up, just a different medical product. You worked for the FDA. These are some of your old friends. Do you see LASIK as big a cover up as what we went through with Oxycontin?
Well, it was always under the cover. I mean, it was, it's, I mean, the old, uh, the radiokeratotomy corneal surgeons were already doing radial cuts in the cornea. FDA was in disarray in the 70s. Those surgeons and those manufacturers essentially took over that process. I was there at that time during that period, and I did my best to try to get them under control, assuming that FDA would keep them under control. Power has its privileges. They essentially have took control over not only that particular division of ophthalmic devices, they took over the head of the device regulation group because their leader of that group for a long time he just retired. He and his wife was a lawyer for the LASIK industry. So yeah, they've been in bed for quite a while, and I hate to say that, but yeah, it's like it's very complicit. It's they have published many papers together, the LASIK industry and the FDA employees.
Okay, how is this like this is I think we have a great insider with you, right? Can you explain to people more how this happens? This is so shocking to me. The government, like, and I also read a lot of times FDA people, CDC people, they go on to work for pharmaceutical companies. They like work for the government for a while. So they're building these relationships where they're going to go on to the private sector and make, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. I mean, how does this happen that these lawyers start lobbying FDA workers and scientists like yourselves and it works? Like, can you tell us how? Like, this is so crazy.
Uh, well, part of it, it's it gets to various depths. I'm not sure I exactly have an answer, although I just saw it up close. I think that um, I think the challenge is, from my perspective, of a regulatory agency. I mean, when Congress established um, medical device regulations, um, they were trying to build a regulatory scheme um, in which all of the knowledge base was mostly outside of the agency. The agency had relatively few people who knew anything about all kinds of different products, all kinds of very fancy products, some simple products. So the Congress said, we need to regulate these devices. And they
Yeah.
said, oh, go do it. So what happened was that the companies, the technical people who knew about it said, okay, we'll go to FDA. Those are the people who knew the products, who knew the details. So there was a necessary kind of conflation of the or integration of the two groups of people, and so they even a lot of good people, and I say that's just for many of my colleagues that there were. I can't say for the ending, but I think they tried to do the right thing
Hmm.
to some extent. But they're stuck with practicalities of what to do in particular cases. And uh, they'll have to answer for their own ways in which were complicit. I tried my best not to get entangled, even though I was on quite a number of occasions offered bribes, soft asks, you know.
Sure.
uh,
It's not like somebody comes and offers you $100,000 suitcase of cash.
Correct.
It's like, let's go out to dinner. Let's go out to, I mean, this is lobbying, right? In DC. I
Yeah,
lived in DC for
I,
16
I
years.
I came back from one of my rare vacations. My wife can tell you, I came back from one of my rare vacations when I was head of that group, and I got back, and one of my the person I put in charge of my absence approves something that was something I had explicitly disapproved. I said this is something that this manufacturer should not be allowed to do. I came back, and it was already going up the line because she had approved what I had said not to approve because she was good friends with one of the regulatory people at the company. And I said, I don't care if you're good friends with her or not. So I told my boss, who was the next level up, I said, I'm out of here. If you sign off on this because she was did it in my stead, then I'm gone. And he said, okay, we'll do it.
Yeah.
So I had that kind of power for a short while, you know, which is interesting. But if it weren't for if I hadn't been there at that particular moment, that particular I don't remember the details of it, but that particular um, hey, get out of here.
Little cat. Dr. Waxler's cat walking through.
So,
I
that's Max.
understand,
You didn't
Max.
notice.
I understand what you say, and it starts with building a friendship over time, right? I mean,
Correct. Correct.
and then it's as simple as, hey, maybe I'm a LASIK lawyer, or maybe I'm a high-powered LASIK doctor, and I have 17 offices across the country. It starts with saying, hey, Dr. Waxler, if you ever want to leave the FDA, you should call me. We should work together. I'd love to hire you. I'd love to. It's little things like that. And then, then I say, look, anytime you leave the FDA, you've got a job with us, right? And I'll triple your or quadruple your salary. And then, it starts me calling you and saying, hey, you know what? Okay, we've got this guy, Ryan, in Pennsylvania. We don't
Correct.
know.
Correct.
We can't really
Correct.
say it's LASIK that did this.
Yeah.
We need you to come out and say that, he could have been having mental health issues. He could,
Yeah.
it's subtle. And right? It's tale as old as time. A lot of people can be bribed for money. The world is expensive. You make a government salary and then you can go work in private and make
Correct.
5 times that. And you see all the opportunities for your own kids and you're willing to sacrifice your morality for it. That's
Yeah.
probably how it begins.
And the other thing is that people build a certain amount of trust in other individuals and don't ask questions any longer. They don't say, well, is that really true?
Yeah.
Uh, and they'll repeat something because they trusted the other person. So I have one of my eye surgeons who's a terrific eye surgeon. She not only did the cataract surgery on my eyes, but she put in two little tiny stents to control my intraocular blood pressure. I mean, really, I have two little tubes, one little tube in this eye, one little tube in that eye, uh, to keep my pressure down very low, my eye pressure. That's marvelous. But I learned later that she does LASIK. Wow. So, and I have tried to talk with my LASIK team, my ophthalmology team, because I got lots of problems. I got macular degeneration. I'm old, you know.
Oh my
So,
God. But we could all be so blessed. I mean, my Lord, 88. I mean, look, neuroscientist, genius brain. You're doing fabulous. You got a cat, a wife.
so I gave him a copy of my book. I signed it even, and I said I'd like to give a talk at the ophthalmology department. Guess what? It's not going to happen. They, it's not going to happen. They don't want to hear me. They want me to go away sooner than later.
Of course,
And,
honey, they're making a
I'm trying to
fortune.
delay that as long as possible.
Well, that's why you're here on this popular podcast that we can get the word out. I want to ask you a few last questions.
Sure.
Clearly, the message is don't have LASIK. Okay, that is what we're trying to get through to people. It is not worth the risk, right? But like a good friend of mine, Blair, she's the one that helped us set this
Yes.
interview up today. She had LASIK 20 years ago. She had great results. She loved it. But now it's wearing off and not working. If you're somebody in Blair's situation, you had LASIK 10 years ago, but now it's no longer working, what can people do? Do you go back to glasses? What happens?
Well, she'll go back to glasses, but what she should do also is um, her cornea has been thinned. She needs to have a good evaluation from an optometrist who is not wedded to the LASIK industry. The thing is, what the
Yeah.
LASIK surgeons did beautifully, and I say this because I knew them really, really, very well. Actually, I knew them very closely because they talked to me because I was a good friend, and they figured they could do things with me. And so, uh, what they did very beautifully is they co-opted most of the optometrists. So you'll find that most optometrists, like I just saw on one on a TV broadcast about Ryan, the optometrist literally lied about the adverse event rates because what what do optometrists get a cut from every LASIK surgeon? They do the intake for the LASIK surgeons. For the LASIK
Of
surgeons,
course
they
they
do
do.
all this. So they're all co-opted and part of the system. So but so they need to find, she needs to find a good ophthalmologist who can evaluate her eyes since she's had LASIK. I mean, my friend Ed Boschnick in Florida, he's one of those guys who will tell her, does she have any additional risks now that she had LASIK? Um, so she needs to have an honest evaluation. Is her eyes starting to bulge a little bit? Hopefully not. Hopefully not. She may not have to do anything, but she needs to talk to somebody who's not part of the LASIK industry, which is unfortunately a lot of the optometry community has been uh, bought out by uh, the LASIK surgeons. So it's hard to get honest advice about it uh, because one needs to trust your your physicians, and they build that trust. I remember going. I used to go to a lot of the meetings at the LASIK industry. One of the one of the set of meetings they have is how to build trust with your clients, how to build trust with your customers. So
Oh,
they know how to do that beautifully. I mean, it's a script. It's a script that they learn. Put an undercover person in one of these LASIK seminars, and you'll learn a lot about how they teach them to smooth the customer so that they make the customer feel really good. Oh, this is beautiful. Here's all of these good outcomes. You'll be so they just give them the entire good spiel. It's like selling an automobile. It's like
that's
selling an automobile.
terrifying. That is terrifying because your eyes, like you said, I mean, it doesn't take, as we clearly know, I'm not a neuroscientist, but I mean, I'm smart enough to know, the eyeball is so delicate. It's so delicate. It's soft tissue. When you're putting on
It's
a contact, you can feel how mushy and soft. I mean,
yeah.
your eyes are so delicate and you mess them up. And my God, nothing is worse, right? I mean, I feel like your eyes and your heart are like two of the most, and your hearing is great too, but if you can see, you can kind of begin to hear, anyway. Um, do you still run the advocacy site, LASIKcomplications.com? Is that where people, obviously they need to get your book, but can they look at that website or join it to get more information if they have had issues with LASIK or?
Here's the thing: LASIK complications is a site for people who've had LASIK, to so that they can talk together. My good friend Paula Kofer, who's a co-author in this book, that's a site where LASIK patients come together and talk. What has happened on that site from time to time is that the LASIK industry tries to infiltrate that group. So she does it very good about keeping out people who've not had LASIK. So
Okay.
if you want information about LASIK, but not going into LASIK complications, I think it's called LASIK advocacy. I'll send you the link.
Okay, we'll
I
put
don't.
that up.
Yeah, and so there's another way to get that information. And honestly, if someone wants to call me, I don't mind people. My address is my name at gmail.com. So, they,
Is it Morris
some,
Waxler at gmail.com or Dr.
yeah,
Morris Waxler?
no, just all lowercase Morris Waxer, only one I.
Okay, I'm going to put that out there. So if people are now having complications from LASIK or if they're thinking about having it, they need to speak to you first. I was so touched by these articles and so blown away at how many people have committed suicide after getting LASIK eye surgery. The numbers
Yeah,
are shocking. I mean, that
yeah,
beautiful Detroit, I think she was from Detroit, Michigan,
yeah. Oh,
the news anchor who was a mother. She was in so much
oh.
pain. I mean, to me, it's like between she and Ryan alone, how the alarms have not been set that something catastrophic happened in these procedures is mind blowing.
And it's not rare. It is not rare. Um, people curl up and go away. I talked to a young man. This was maybe 5 6 years ago. I was on a long walk. I don't walk quite as long anymore, and I do walk quite a long ways. But I was on a 10-mile walk, which is not how I do anymore.
This is why you're
Yeah.
88, Dr. Waxler.
So,
This is why you're
so I
88.
get this I get this call, and he says, I'm going to shoot that son of a bitch. And I said, whoa, hold on a moment. And I knew who he was talking about because I had worked with this guy. Had illegal laser for in the late 70s. So I knew him very well. A very smooth talker, very debonair, very wealthy. And I said, well, just a moment. Tell me what's. And I convinced him. I think since I know the guy didn't get shot, uh, that he didn't do that. So I said, look, he was an artist. He could no longer do what his life he wanted to do. He was stuck in his father's basement. And I said, well, I don't know. If you kill that SOB, what's going to happen to your father? What's going to happen to your friends? I mean, you're not going to improve anything. You could just make another mess, and you won't be here. But so I said, Don't kill it. I mean,
Yeah, we need you.
try to figure out ways to manage it,
We
but
need
it's
people to
hard.
advocate.
It's
Yeah,
hard.
it's very hard. Last question for you. You've spent your life in the medical world on the FDA side, now, sounding some alarms. I mean, where do you think our healthcare system is? I know this is a big question, but it seems so scary. Like it seems so many more people like yourself are speaking out, not just about the LASIK side, but everything, pharmaceuticals, pain medication. It's really hard to trust now the medical world at all, even if they have done great work, because people feel so misled about stuff like this. Do you have any advice? Is it asking a lot of questions? Is there a way to find a doctor that isn't bought out by one of these companies? Do you have any advice? All these years you've had an incredible career and worked on both sides.
Well, I think the important thing, and you hit on it very well. I think asking questions is really important. Um, I just a few months ago had a heart valve replaced, and the wonderful young man, everybody's young, uh, he said he described what the situation was, and um, and so I asked him a series of questions. And he was very straightforward with it, and I knew enough to say, okay, so what happens when you do this? When you put the thing in there, what is it going to go smoothly? If it doesn't, what are you going to do about it? So knowing enough before you go in to ask questions, trust but verify, especially if first of all, stay away from surgery that you don't need. For this, if something is
Okay.
broke, get it fixed. If it's not broke, don't do anything to it.
Okay, well, now this isn't making me happy about my facelift that I want to get. Okay.
You don't need a. You have a wonderful face. Why would you lift it?
Well,
Talk about mine. I mean, okay.
no, you look so good. I know. But okay, all right. Well, darn it, I ain't getting the facelift and I don't really need to get my eyelids. That's a very popular one. Everybody getting their
Yeah,
eyelids cut.
I know it. I don't get it. I don't get it. But anyhow, I'm not a woman.
Okay, but that's good advice. Don't get surgeries, whether you're man, woman, whatever, that you do not need.
Yeah, if you don't, I mean, if it's not something broke, don't fix it. Don't try to. I mean, just do as little possible as possible to fix it. I have a wonderful friend. He's almost 101 now, an orthopedic an orthopedic surgeon, and he got an award when he was maybe in his he was young like me for being an orthopedic surgeon who wouldn't do surgery unless it was absolutely essential. He said, "I'm not going to operate on a hip that doesn't need operating. If it can be fixed in a little way because it's a big deal. I
I know
mean, it's
surgery is a big deal. Surgery is a big deal. People don't think it is, but it's a big, even a minor surgery is a big deal. It's a big recovery. It's a huge thing on the body. And people, we're not told that. We're told very much, oh, anything you want, get a nose job, get a facelift, you want hips, you want this done, you want surgery, 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 all the time.
ask a lot of questions. And one area that I know a bit more about is problems with the spine.
Oh,
Ask a lot of questions if you have problems with your spine. Ask a lot of questions before you do anything to fix it, because many of the fixes cause other problems. So be very, very careful. Uh, it's a big challenge to fix one part of the spine without causing other problems in other parts of the spine. I mean, some of them are beautiful and they work, but be very, very careful. Uh, and
um, Dr.
it's
Waxler, first of all, you have to come back because I want you to debate somebody who says that I think that's a great idea. Somebody that says LASIK is very safe because I know I'm going to get a lot of people on this podcast that have had LASIK and they love it and they have nothing but great things to say and they're going to say you're fear mongering. So I want to have you back and do that. And
sure.
then wait, and I want to know, the one of the big things for myself, I'm a mom of a 4-year-old little boy.
Ah,
I want you to recommend to this is probably not your field, but you work for the FDA. But there's so much talk about vaccines. It's so confusing about vaccines to know,
ah.
are they making money off vaccines? Are they pushing them on us unnecessarily? Are they safe? I mean, you worked at the FDA, it's like I want you to recommend somebody that can talk logically about it because it's so scary as a parent. Like my son's vaccinated, but then you think, I don't know, should I vaccinate my next child as much? It's so hard because there's such a groundswell of people who swear their children have had vaccine injuries.
Okay, I will do that because I haven't been part of because I've been so busy with this LASIK stuff. I have
Yeah.
been not part of a science reading group that includes mostly geneticists and people who study vaccines.
Oh,
I will get a recommendation from them about who would be somebody who would be a good contact.
okay,
They're really
please.
they're extremely knowledgeable, and I can say from what my conversations with them the last time I was in a meeting was that the RNA vaccines are really, really safe. And as far as I know, that's still the answer. There's a wonderful book. I can't remember by Collins, the former head of NIH. There's a wonderful, beautiful book by him
Okay.
where he discusses some of those issues. And
And you
if you
don't
could
think
get
and you don't think these people are bought off. You don't think these individuals are bought off. You think these are legit good human beings who are telling the truth and are not being paid or getting a cut on the back end from pharmaceutical companies to push vaccines.
I have no reason to think that that's true. I mean, maybe there's some of that going on. I mean, I can't speak to that. I think that a large part from reading Collins's book, I think in the initial days of the pandemic, they were very worried about their lack of knowledge about this unique virus, and they were they had so little information about how it could spread, and was spreading very quickly, that they felt they needed to take action quicker than perhaps they should have.
Mm.
And so I think there's that element. He makes a bit of an apologia in the book. I'll send you a link to his book. It's a beautiful book, actually. It's not mostly about vaccines, but it's an interesting, beautiful book.
Okay, you got it.
It's about religious, actually. It's about religious and about a faith that
Okay.
man of faith, actually,
Wait, are
Christian.
you a man of faith? I see you have some medallion on. Are you?
What? No, this is my listening device.
Oh,
Oh, that's so funny.
you're wearing a cross. Oh my God. No, you're not. Okay, okay. Not religious. Are we religious, Dr. Waxler, or no?
What's that?
Are you religious or no?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. I mean, I know the Bible pretty well. I was raised Orthodox Jewish, but I have not been for decades. But I'm married a Christian woman, and I'm not Christian either. So, but I appreciate the religious thought. I read a lot. I belong to a group here at the Capitol Lakes where we live that talks about faith issues and religious issues and
Oh,
God
I don't.
talk. And
By the way, I don't really care. I just like to
no,
hear
I
your
know, but
thoughts.
it's an
I could
interesting
care.
question.
Well, I like to know, like, where, someone with your brilliant mind, it's like, how was the human body made? I mean, one of the things I think for doctors and scientists is you all are trying to figure out a creation you didn't make. I mean, when a car, right? We know how a car is made. The guys and women that have made these vehicles, they know every screw, they know where things go, right? You
Yeah.
all are trying to figure out the brain. You don't even know how it really was created. I mean, evolution, I'm sure, is probably what you believe, and that may be accurate, but how it became what it became, I mean, I don't think anybody really knows.
No one's going to know completely. It's not possible.
It's a mystery. I mean, you
But
all are trying to.
we can know more about particular things, and we can be mindful of what we don't know. So the book by Collins is a beautiful book. Actually, I think you'd appreciate it.
Oh, I want it. I want it. I'm so fascinated by the human brain and the body. I mean, you all are trying to figure out something that's like a complete mystery. It's wild.
Yeah, it is. And it's an interesting. Uh, and also there are other. I mean, my wife studies development of infants and little children.
Oh,
She's been
yeah.
a she studies empathy in kids and little children, the development of empathy. So she's very very knowledgeable. She's amazing actually.
Oh my God, we
So
need to get her on. Or okay,
yeah,
this is a whole nother.
yeah,
Look, I have to love you and leave you. This was fabulous. Your wife is coming on next because I have a
this is a
four-year-old.
lot of fun. So
I
when are
want.
we doing this next?
You're
Just-
okay. We're doing this in 2 weeks. I'm going to figure out who you can debate. Then I want your wife on because I want to know if children are more empathetic these days or less, or what we're supposed to be doing as parents to make them good
oh
humans.
boy, I think I'll have to narrow that down a little bit, but well, I'll have to talk with her if she's interested in doing because that it would be. I think it's an important, very very important topic actually.
Oh my God,
Uh, and
children are.
the difference between boys and girls is also another really interesting issue.
Look, I got a 4-year-old boy. I don't care what anybody says. He's a boy. He likes trucks, cars. You ain't getting him to do a tea party. He's not
Yeah.
putting on a costume or a dress. He doesn't like stuffed animals. He wants to crash things into things. He wants to run. He wants to scream. Like the fact that people try to go, oh, I'm going to let my child choose their gender or toys. Like these kids are biologically wired. My son loves
Yeah,
a fire
yeah.
truck. He
And you
wants to
need to pay. Yeah, you need to pay attention to that actually.
Yes, like it's bananas. It's like he's a boy. Guess what? He wants to be filthy and in a fire truck. That's it. Like, you're not getting him to do other things. Like, it's crazy. Okay, look, what a treat. Everyone needs to get
This
the
is a
book.
lot of fun, actually.
You're coming back. Okay, Morris Wexler at gmail.com. If you or somebody you know has had a LASIK issue, if you're considering it, which you already know the answer, don't get it, but you can ask Dr. Wexler questions by emailing him direct. You know the
Okay.
book. I'm going to put the book link up. Is there anything else you'd like to promote?
No, I think that's enough for today. I think if you have some additional, if you have some additional questions, that we didn't cover, or you're so puzzled about something I said, let me know.
And look, I need to get my glasses on. I thought this entire time you were wearing a giant cross. Turns out it was your hearing device.
That's funny.
My glasses. Thank you so much. Thank you for everything you're doing. Really appreciate you.
Good to see you.
Bye, Dr.
Bye-bye.
Waxler. Take care. We'll talk soon.
Okay.
See ya.